So, what's the first thing Microsoft does in the new year? Yeah, you guessed it. Layoffs. And yes, these layoffs have affected Xbox pretty badly. But, of course, before we jump into that, if you enjoy watching content about Xbox, PlayStation, and PC gaming, and just news in general, then this channel's for you. So, why don't you consider subscribing? Helps grow the channel, help grow the community, helps all around. All right, so on January 18th, Jason Schreier will report that Microsoft was laying off 10,000 employees by March of this year. Of course, that was through Microsoft themselves, and it went into Xbox Game Studios as well. It was reported, of course, that 878 of these layoffs affected 343 Studios, the Coalition, and Bethesda. To make things worse, Joseph Staten, who helped create previous Halo titles, had gone on to leave the studio and go back to the publishing team for Xbox that he originally left to help development on Infinite. So with these layoffs, this is a rough time, just through the fact that Bethesda, of course, is currently developing Starfield, and that it's rumored for a 2023 or early 2024 release. But depending on how many employees they lost and what departments they were laid off in, this studio could delay the game longer, which, I mean, is kind of damaging because, I mean, this game has some hype that is, of course, reminiscent of Fallout 4, which, I mean, it's not as intense, but the game is people talking about Bethesda maybe being back to the developers they were before 76. So, of course, these layoffs just really bum you out, of course, at the end of the day, because these were people who worked on these titles. I mean, they didn't deserve this. These people worked hard on games to bring us, and they were just laid off. And, you know, it's ridiculous. Layoffs are ridiculous. You shouldn't lay off people who really enjoy making your games, and also who are dedicated to the craft, and you just pull the rug out from under them. But of course, to make things worse, with 343, of course, has taken the most losses here. This puts Halo Infinite at a weird spot. It's already on live support, and with 343 losing a multiplayer designer, and apparently they would take the brunt of the layoffs with Microsoft, and apparently the campaign team was gutted as there was a campaign DLC currently being made. And I want to put a speculation warning out, because this is an article from GameSpot, and due to this information coming from a Halo leaker, I want this to be like, you know, this might not be true, but I want to report it because it just came out. So, with all I've discussed, apparently 343 has potentially been taken off active development of the Halo franchise, and that the new games will be handled by a third party. So, wow, they actually did it. Like, after everyone was talking about it, Xbox has finally done it, I guess. So the article goes on to say that they will be overseeing games and maintaining the engine. So this could as well explain the layoffs affecting them, as most with this new role that they're going to be put in, they don't really need writers or level designers. They just need engine programmers and just programmers in general to maybe help with the general creation of these games in case they need to lend some. But man, this really sucks. Like, really, like, this sucks, man. Because it just seemed like 343 was getting back on track. Like, they were kind of the little engine that could. They were finally getting back with a planned campaign DLC, and the multiplayer was being fixed currently with Forge being released, and of course content being better designed for players, as that was a big complaint, as the seasons really weren't that captivating. And it just, man, like, they just keep taking L's, man. L after L. It just doesn't stop. And I really hate it for them, because it seems like 343 now is fully done. I mean, they have allegedly been pushed off the active development team, and now they're just kind of sitting there. And it just really sucks, because this team were great developers that made a great campaign and a good multiplayer. The only issue was they didn't release Forge. They waited too long. And then the multiplayer content just wasn't there. They really just kind of whiffed it on that. But the game itself was fun. The playground aspect to it, where you could really do anything in the game with anything you got in your hands, was so cool. I mean, combat was so fluid, of course, in the multiplayer with all the gadgets they give you. And of course, this playground, like, intense multiplayer where, like, you can throw an explosive grapple hook away and shoot while you're going, and it would just be so cool, man. Like, it's a really cool thing, and it really sucks that this team, because of course there are rumors that the DLC for the campaign's been canceled due to this layoff, and it just really sucks for them, because this company was finally on a stride and making the game I think they wanted to make day one, and it's really a shame. So, of course, though, my heart goes out to all the layoff employees affected with Bethesda, Xbox, and even Microsoft, because I mean, losing your job suddenly is just terrible. And my hope is that they can bounce back from this and maybe go to a different studio and their talents are applied there and they make greater games than they would have. So, but of course, Patrick Wren, who was a multiplayer designer for Infinite and is now helping with the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order series, would go on to tweet on Twitter, "The layoffs at 343 shouldn't have happened and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. The reason for both of these things is incompetent leadership up top during Halo Infinite's development, causing massive stress on those working hard to make Halo the best it can be. The people I worked every day with were passionate about Halo and wanted to make something great for the fans. They helped push for a better Halo and got laid off for it. Devs still there are working hard on that dream. Look at Forge. Be kind to them during this awful time." Again, this just reiterates that that they've just been screwed by these layoffs. Like, it's obvious that 343 was going on an upswing, and they were really developing a great game that would finally be at its peak with the content they were going to put in. And this really puts the Xbox studios in question, because it seems that Halo Infinite is now on its deathbed. Like, will Halo Infinite just be kind of there and the multiplayer will slowly die off because they probably won't be adding any content? I mean, they don't even have the baseline to keep updating the game. And with Bethesda, we are risking a delay of one of the most anticipated games of the Xbox Series X life cycle. I mean, and there's potential that it's going to be out of our hands for longer? Man, if so, Xbox is in trouble. As in 2023, they really wanted to bring it. As Phil Spencer would go on to say that they are going to be more active in 2023, especially as of recording in 5 days. There is a developer showcase to show off these games. And Starfield was supposed to have their own planned event. And it's just, I mean, it really puts in the question of how Xbox will push like they have been when they've just taken these major losses to their two most important dev studios. I mean, just look at, I mean, it just looks a little dire for them, as Halo Infinite will probably only get content updates and the campaign DLC will be scrapped. It will released at its, oh dear God, at its state, which could be buggy, which would be unfinished. I mean, who knows, but it just wouldn't be complete depending on how far they were along. Or they would have developers who weren't developing it try their best, and we'll see what happens with that, I guess. And the multiplayer for Halo Infinite is probably going to die. I mean, because they've lost all their multiplayer devs as well, apparently. I mean, it just seems like the engine is empty now, and I just think Halo Infinite is on its way out. Especially with this rumor that they're getting more people to, they're getting third-party studios to develop. It seems like Infinite's done. It seems like Xbox wants to leave it behind and move on to a greener pasture. But of course, I mean, with Starfield maybe being delayed, it really depends on the state of the game, of course, but it hurts, man, because like these studios were starting to get back on it, and it just seems that they've just taken an L that wasn't expected or needed. It really sucks, because like Xbox, I was ready for them to be back on the competition level, to have PlayStation and Xbox making great content to better one another, because that's just competition. And it just really sucks because Microsoft was like, no, layoffs. And all these poor people lost their jobs. And I mean, like I said, hopefully they can get better jobs at different studios, of course. Maybe PlayStation would take them in. We'll see. You know, it just depends as the days go on. But, you know, to wrap this up, the people who were laid off at the end of the day are the main concern. I mean, as much as we love games, these people are more important because they created these great titles for us to play, and we're working hard to create more great game content, but had their legs taken out from under them. So again, my heart goes out to all the affected, and I hope they can bounce back quickly. But, of course, that's all I've got for y'all today. Short little news video. Just wanted to talk about the Xbox issues. Yeah, if you've made it this far, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and of course hit the notification bell to receive updates on when I upload next. And I just want to thank you all for watching, and I want you to question or comment down below on what you thought about this. Do you think Xbox will bounce back from this very quickly? Do you think Starfield will release on time? Do you think Infinite will still get updates and maybe have a return to form? Or do you just think that my video has no points to ground on? If you do, comment down below. I'd love to discuss that for you, or discuss that with you. And again, I appreciate y'all for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.